If you're struggling to get ahead, it's probably not because you're lazy or unlucky. It's because you're still thinking like the 99%. Millionaires don't just have more money. They have a completely different mental operating system. They see the world through a different lens. They don't wait for permission. They don't chase motivation. They've installed patterns of behavior and belief that automatically push them toward success, while most people are still stuck in survival mode. Success isn't random. It's not magic. It's a mindset you build on purpose. And the people who master it, they don't just earn more, they become more. If your thoughts are constantly filled with doubt, fear, scarcity, or procrastination, it's not your fault, but it is your responsibility to change it. Your brain is programmable, and what you program it with determines your results. This video is not about hacks, fluff, or empty motivation. It's about the core habits, mental and behavioral, that self-made millionaires live by, daily. Not theory, not hype, just real patterns that rewire your mind for long-term wealth and control. Let's break down the 7 habits that separate the rich from the rest, and how you can reprogram your brain to adopt them. Habit #1. Millionaires train their focus like a weapon. Most people can't hold their focus for more than a few seconds. They scroll, tap, switch, refresh, consume all day, every day. They live in a loop of distractions, reacting to whatever the algorithm throws their way. Their attention is scattered, their mind overstimulated, and their energy drained by things that don't move their life forward. Then they wonder why they're stuck. Millionaires move differently. Their focus is intentional, not accidental. They don't just protect their attention, they train it like a weapon, because they understand that in a world overloaded with noise, clarity is currency. The rich don't try to do everything. They zero in on the few things that actually produce results, and they go deep. They protect their mornings. They block distractions. They structure their days to prioritize creation over consumption, action over reaction. They know every quick scroll can derail a powerful hour of work, and that hour could have been the one that changed everything. Focus is the foundation of momentum. If you can't sustain focus, you can't build, period. This is why so many talented, intelligent, good-hearted people stay broke. Not because they lack skill, but because they never focus long enough to finish. They start and stop, get distracted, chase new ideas, repeat. They're always busy, rarely effective. Millionaires simplify. They create filters for their time. They ask, what matters most right now? And they cut everything else. Their calendars reflect their priorities. Their environments are built to support deep work, not dopamine hits. They don't leave focus up to chance, they build systems around it. Morning routines, shutdown rituals, app blockers, scheduled breaks, content boundaries. They treat their attention like an asset because it is. If your focus is constantly hijacked by distractions, you'll always feel behind. If your time is filled with low-value inputs, you'll never create high-value outputs. Millionaires win because they do what average people won't. They guard their focus like their life depends on it. Because it does. Where your focus goes, your future grows. Train it, guard it, use it to build. Habit #2. Millionaires think in decades, not days. The average person wakes up thinking about today, what they have to do, what they need to survive, what they can check off to feel productive. They live on a short timeline, paycheck to paycheck, task to task, dopamine hit to dopamine hit. And that's why their results stay short-term. Everything they do is built around now. Millionaires don't operate that way. They play a longer game. They think in decades, not days. Every decision, how they spend, what they build, who they connect with, how they use their energy, is filtered through a long-term lens. They ask, will this matter 5 years from now? If not, they move on. That's why the rich are calm when others panic. When the market dips, they don't react emotionally. They zoom out. They've built their lives on long-term strategy, not quick wins. They don't chase trends, they build foundations. While everyone else is looking for the next opportunity, they're still compounding the one they started 5 years ago. Thinking long-term requires patience, something most people avoid. It's not sexy. It doesn't give you a rush, but it's how real wealth is built. Not from one lucky break, but from consistent, intentional action over time. Millionaires are willing to be bored with their process, because they know that's where the money is. The average person changes direction every time something gets hard. New job, new idea, new business. They hit resistance and quit. But if they had stayed consistent for a year, let alone 5, they'd be ahead of 95% of the world. Millionaires delay gratification. They reinvest instead of splurge. They build systems instead of relying on grind. They say no to quick wins that steal from the bigger picture. And because of that, they create separation. Not immediately, but inevitably. If you want to think like a millionaire, ask yourself daily, is this moving me closer to my 5-year vision? If the answer is no, cut it. Short-term thinking keeps you stuck. Long-term thinking makes you unstoppable. Habit #3. Millionaires take relentless responsibility. Most people blame, quietly or loudly, directly or passively. They shift the weight of their life onto someone or something else. The economy is bad. My parents didn't teach me this. I wasn't born into money. It's not fair. Blame feels comforting because it removes pressure. It gives you a reason not to act, a reason to stay stuck. But millionaires, they don't play the blame game. They take relentless responsibility for everything, even the things that weren't technically their fault. Not because they love blame, but because they love control. And when you take responsibility, you take control. This is the mindset shift that changes everything. Realizing no one is coming to save you. No system, no mentor, no magic strategy. If your life isn't where you want it to be, it's on you to fix it. That's not pressure, that's power. The wealthy move through the world asking, what can I own here? Instead of pointing fingers, they look in the mirror. They don't dwell on what happened, they focus on what happens next. That's the difference. That's what makes them dangerous in the best way possible. The average person waits for things to get better. Millionaires make things better. They're problem solvers, not problem worshippers. They look at every setback as an assignment, not a sentence. This mindset doesn't make life easier, it makes you stronger. When you stop outsourcing your outcomes, you get better at adjusting, adapting, and dominating. Want to reprogram your mind for wealth? Stop saying, it's not my fault. Start asking, what am I going to do about it? Your results are your responsibility, and that's the best news you'll ever hear. Habit #4. Millionaires build identity, not just income. Most people chase money without ever upgrading who they are. They want more income, but they keep the same habits, same self-image, same mindset that's kept them broke or average. They try to act successful, but deep down, they don't believe they are. And that disconnect always shows in how they speak, what they tolerate, and what they settle for. Millionaires don't just grow their bank account, they grow their identity. They rewire how they see themselves from the inside out. Because here's the truth, you will always act like the person you believe you are. If deep down you see yourself as just getting by, or not the kind of person who builds wealth, then you'll subconsciously sabotage progress to stay congruent with that identity. This isn't about self-help fluff. This is neuroscience. Your brain is wired for consistency. If your outer life grows faster than your self-image, you'll find a way to crash it. The rich reverse engineer their self-image. They ask, who would I be if I was already successful? How would that version of me think, speak, act, and make decisions? Then they start acting from that identity now. They build habits that reinforce that new image. They surround themselves with people who see them at a higher level. They speak about themselves with power, not pity. They stop identifying with their past and start building from their future. This shift changes everything. Because once your identity is upgraded, your actions follow naturally. You don't have to fake discipline or motivation. It just becomes who you are. They become the version of themselves that can handle success, and success follows. Want to make more money? Start by becoming someone who expects it, earns it, and respects it. Habit #5. Millionaires protect their environment like their life depends on it. If your environment is chaotic, full of distractions, filled with people who doubt you or drain you, you will not win. No matter how talented, motivated, or ambitious you are. Because environment beats willpower. Every single time. Most people try to upgrade their life while staying in the same environment that created their problems. They're trying to grow while still surrounded by people who think small, live in fear, or normalize mediocrity. They spend their days in noisy spaces, their evenings in front of the TV, and their weekends with people who mock ambition. Then they wonder why they can't break through. Millionaires are ruthless about environment. They curate it. They build it like a system. They remove what distracts. They add what supports. They understand that success isn't about being stronger, it's about being smarter with your surroundings. Their homes are optimized for focus. Their phones are controlled, not controlling. Their conversations are intentional. Their network is filled with people who challenge them, inspire them, and expect more from them. This doesn't mean cutting everyone off. It means being aware. Who drains your energy? Who feeds your excuses? Who believes in your potential? Who helps you grow? Millionaires put themselves in rooms that force evolution. They pay for access, mentors, proximity, Because they know one conversation in the right room can unlock what 5 years alone never could. Your environment should reflect your vision, not your past. That includes your digital space too. Clean up your feed. Delete the noise. Stop following people who make you feel less or push distraction over discipline. Want to change your life? Change where you spend your time, who you spend it with, and what you allow into your space. Because if your environment doesn't support your growth, it will kill it slowly and silently. Millionaires don't leave their success up to chance. They build the world around them to match where they're going. Habit #6. Millionaires master boring before they earn big. Everyone wants success. Very few want the process. Most people quit not because they're incapable, but because they're impatient. They expect growth to feel exciting, glamorous, Instagram-worthy. But the truth? Most of what builds real wealth is painfully unsexy. Millionaires understand this. They master boring. They don't need every day to feel epic. They don't chase stimulation, they chase results. They show up when it's routine. They execute when no one's watching. They build discipline around the actions that actually move the needle, even when those actions feel repetitive, slow, or dull. This is where most people fall off. They start a business, a side hustle, a routine, and then lose interest as soon as the dopamine wears off. And they call it exploring opportunities. But it's really just avoiding mastery. Millionaires are different because they go deep. They understand that wealth isn't built by doing 100 things. Once it's built by doing one thing 100 times, with focus, strategy, and evolution. They treat the fundamentals like sacred rituals: writing content, following up, learning skills, tracking money, repeating systems. These aren't chores, they're the game. This ability to persist when it's not exciting is a mental edge. It means they don't need hype to keep going. They don't need perfect conditions. They've trained themselves to stick with what works long enough for it to compound. Success is simple. Not easy, but simple. The hard part is doing it when no one claps for you, when progress is invisible, when it's just you, your calendar, and your commitment. The broke chase novelty. The rich build consistency, and consistency pays compound interest. If you can't stay committed through boredom, you'll never stay consistent long enough to win. Habit #7. Millionaires bet on themselves always. Most people wait for permission. They wait for approval, validation, perfect timing, a sign from the universe. They wait until they feel ready. And they stay stuck, broke, frustrated, full of potential but afraid to pull the trigger. Millionaires don't wait. They bet on themselves before they feel ready, before it's perfect, before it's guaranteed. They understand that confidence isn't something you wait for. It's something you earn by acting. This isn't blind ego, it's self-trust. It's the mindset that says, even if I don't know how yet, I'll figure it out. I'll learn faster than most. I'll pivot if needed, but I won't wait. And that mindset, more than strategy, skill, or credentials, is what creates separation. Most people want guarantees before they take risks. The wealthy take calculated risks to create the guarantees. They invest in themselves, in coaching, in tools, in time. They build things before they know exactly how it'll pay off. Why? Because they know they're the asset, and assets grow when they're activated. Every day you delay action is a day you could have been learning, building, compounding, evolving. Millionaires don't wait to be chosen, they choose themselves. They launch the thing. They pitch the client. They start the business. They say yes and figure it out in motion. You don't need to have it all figured out, but you do need to believe in your ability to adapt and lead. That's what separates winners from wishers. If you're not betting on yourself, don't expect anyone else to. Most people will watch this and nod, then go back to the same habits, same mindset, same results. But not you, not if you're serious. Reprogramming your mind isn't a one-time moment. It's a decision, a commitment, a daily practice. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be persistent. Pick one of these habits, lock it in, live it, then stack the next one, and the next. That's how millionaires are made, not overnight, but over time. If you're ready to stop thinking like the 99% and start building real wealth from the inside out, subscribe to Wealth by Design, where we don't chase hype. We build legacy. Turn on notifications, drop a comment with the habit when you're claiming today, and share this with someone stuck in small thinking. Let's level up together.